issue with cisgenders, obviously being blacks. Do they believe you? Things of that sort. Um, it's great that you had all of those things because, like you all have been saying, you need the entire integrated team, the therapist, the physical therapist, chiropractor, whatever you may need. Now, when it comes to the transgender community, it's a difficult conversation. It is a difficult conversation when it comes to trans men, when it comes to talking to your provider, because most providers, we simply aren't given a lot of training on how to empathize and how to diagnose and things of that sort when it comes to transition. So know that if you're talking to your provider and they ask you things like, what is your gender at birth and things of that sort, it may be a difficult conversation. But the reality is, we just need to know because we need to know how to treat you. Now, make sure that provider swiftly changes their conversation to calling you the correct pronouns and making sure that make sure that you feel safe with that provider. But know that conversation may be difficult. Other barriers to access, obviously, when it comes to the LGBTQ plus community, is um, obviously we have a higher homelessness rate. We have a higher rate of sometimes have a lower rate of like education, things of that sort. So sometimes you don't know what you just don't know. And I talk to many of my peers in their 30s and 40s, and they've never even seen a provider. They've never actually checked. So again, like I said from the very jump, check, check, check. If you're in like a rural little town, if you can get to a major city, I would always say try to get to a major city, unless you know of a reputable person to do it. Because again, sometimes when you're in the small, I'm from a rural place, they don't know how to deal with us at all. So, um, yeah, that's what I got.
Thank you. No, that those are very, very important things for us to keep in mind because we know that we might walk into a doctor's office and be treated differently, but we don't always have the knowledge to know, okay, what is the problem here? And you giving us that insight about how providers are trained is very, very helpful. Denise, talk to us a bit about support. What did support look like for you? And if there was something that you were lacking, what would you have wanted?
Support for me was number one, seeing my mom go through what she went through and her family being there for me. Um, you mentioned something earlier about cancer not being a death sentence, and I just want to touch back on that really quickly. In that I had my mother there as the physical manifestation of cancer not being a death sentence, right? So I had her there. As someone who was going through treatment 20 years prior to me, who always wanted to stay alive. She wanted her hair done, makeup, like she wanted to always be true to herself. And I think the inspiration from Slay Cancer came from. So having my mom there as support meant the world to me. Family and friends. I was pretty open with my cancer diagnosis. I told the world. I went on social media. That was for me personally, that was my way of coping. My mom is totally different from me. She barely told people in our family. So I think me putting it out there to people, I gained a lot of support. My sorority sister, I had a lot of family and friends who came out. I had a cut it party right when before cancer, my treatment really started, when my hair first started falling out. I had a cut it party where I had a barber, I had a DJ, we had drinks and food, and we made it a fun experience so that I didn't want chemo to take who I was. I wanted chemo to take my personality. I'm very fun, bubbly, love to dance, love to have fun with my friends, and I wanted to make sure that stayed with me. So having people there to support me in that way meant the world to me. If I had to go back, I feel like it's a little difficult for caregivers because they want to be there for us, and sometimes they may not know how to approach us or what to say to make us feel better and things of that sort. So I feel like maybe I could have been more communicative and letting people know what I needed exactly at that time. But besides that, I feel like I was supported very much so, very, very much so.
Wow, this cut it party, I love it.
It was a great time. It was a great time.
Talking about turning a negative into a positive, sis. You were just truly a cancer slayer. Yeah, I absolutely love that.
Yes, I had to.
Jay, were you gonna jump in?
Oh no, I was just saying Slay.
Gotcha. And Millie, what about you? Like, what do you feel like support receiving the best support possible looks like for you on this journey? I'm not going to say what you're missing, but what do you feel like the best support possible looks like?
Um, under for me to understand what I'm going to go through in order to help my caregiver to go through, whomever that will be, and it'll probably be my girlfriend. So it is understanding and then helping her understand, and then my family understand what is about to take place. Um, and just being supportive. Now I know telling my mom will be difficult. I mean, she's gone through radiation herself because she had a cancerous tumor in her spine. So it's not that we're not new to any of this, but she'll end up trying to call me every single day, every other hour. Well, how are you feeling? What are you doing? Man, I'm fine, ma'am. I'm fine. But having just the support and understanding of what's going on. And if I don't feel like being bothered, just let me be and let me come back to it, because it's still a lot for me to take in, because it's like I never thought I'd get to the point where, oh, we actually talking radiation. Oh, this is real. Okay, because you pushed me off to the side so much. And I know I've been on tamoxifen for almost a year now, and I have 4 more years to go. But it's just like now we come into the real part, like, yeah, so we're going to start the radiation treatments and then figure out the day of surgery and then the biopsy. So it's just, I'm still taking it all in.
Yeah.
And then everybody else can take it in. And then by being on here, I'm quite sure I'm going to get text messages and phone calls like, why didn't you say anything? Well, I move in silence a lot, and I keep things to myself, and I don't want to be a burden to anyone. And that's how it feels like. I don't want to bother you. Everybody has their life, even though I wouldn't be a bother, and I know my friends would be there, but I've always been like that independent one. And maybe it's because being a mom of 4 for so long by myself, it's just like, I just do it myself. I don't want to ask anybody. I'll just do it myself.
Yeah, we're gonna cut that myth today, sis. Today is the last day that you are allowed to think that way, because the strongest thing you can do right now is receive love and support from others. Yes. And when I tell you the people who God just has waiting to be able to love on you and to provide for you and to cook you meals and to do so many beautiful and amazing things for you, girl, they just waiting. We all literally are ready to push the button. So allow for yourself to be loved on. One thing I say, Denise, I don't know if you felt this way, but I never knew love existed in such a mighty and profound way until I got diagnosed.
Girl, I could get put to tears right now. Just, it's such a humbling experience, and you realize, I'm not saying, you realize who's there for you and what's important. You realize what's important and who's important in your life, and that's priceless.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we've talked a little bit about caregivers, but I think there's a lot more for us to discuss around that, y'all, because I know for me, I was in a long-term relationship, same relationship that brought me from my hysterectomy and then a year later, breast cancer. And because I was in the midst of it, I didn't realize how difficult it was for her. So Jay, just as a healthcare professional, from what you see in doctors' offices, etc., knowing what caregivers go through, any advice for cancer patients and the families to keep in mind for the caregivers?
Absolutely. Sometimes difficult to talk about, but the reality is, when you're going through any type of malady in your body and you have a caregiver who's by your side, know that caregiver burden is a thing, and it's not a negative thing. It's reality, they live vicariously through you. And so the reality is, if they just say, hey, I need a day, it's okay. That doesn't mean they don't love you. It doesn't mean they don't want to be with you. They just kind of need that kind of like that day. But also, caregivers don't know what you don't tell them. So just make sure that you just let them know it. I'm having a bad day today, or simply, I need you today, or leave me alone today. And also when it comes to the people that you really trust, it's okay to let them know all of the medical stuff that you go through too. Okay, so hey, I'm taking this drug. I'm gonna have mood swings. It's literally blocking the estrogen in my breast. So obviously, if it's gonna do that, it's gonna cause mood swings and hot flashes. And so I may be moody today. I may not want to be by you today, but I know I still love you. So always tell your family members that you do love, hey, I love you. I'm going through right now. And whatever mood that you may see out of me, it may be the drugs talking. It may not be me.
Any advice for caregivers or how we can include caregivers in our care, Denise?
Just to piggyback off what Jay said, just being communicative with them and allowing them some grace, and allowing them to grow in this experience, because it's all, 9 times out of 10 it's a new experience for all of us, right? We're dealing with going through treatment and being diagnosed, and they're dealing with being a loved one go through treatment and being diagnosed and going through treatment. So we just give each other grace and have conversation and have real conversation and communicate about what's really going on. I feel like that's going to help the relationship between the caregiver and the person going through treatment. Absolutely.
And Imani just said that her aunt used to send detailed emails. I think that actually is a good idea if you're up for it. As the patient, you may not be, but it's a good way to not have to tell everybody, 15 phone calls, what's going on. Just send one email and everybody's on the same page. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
For sure. So we've talked a little bit about, and Jay, thank you for situating us around what cancer is. But I'm interested, what kind of cancer did the three of us have? So I had estrogen-driven cancer. What about you, Millie? Do you know the type of diagnosis you've received?
I do not know the type of diagnosis that I received. I believe it is estrogen driven. I believe that's what they say. When they would tell me that, I would zone out a lot of times. Like she just said it, and all of a sudden it was just like Charlie Brown. Well, you say the diagnosis, and I'm just like,
yeah,
just give me the paper to read, because I don't understand. I don't even know what you just said to me at this right now. I'll have to take it all. Yes. It was so overwhelming. She's like, "You okay?" It's like, but I will be. I have no choice. I was like, I will be.
Yeah.
But mine is estrogen driven.
Okay.
Yeah. I was diagnosed with stage 2. Well, to be honest, they did tell me over the phone that I was stage. When I went into the doctor's office, they told me that it was really stage 2B, and it's estrogen receptive. But the way my oncologist explained it to me is that it's like 0.4%. So it's a positive, it's a good thing in that, like, I'm not high on that scale. It's just 0.4%. So my body reacted very well to the chemotherapy, radiation, and to that treatment. So so it's 0.4%. So it was estrogen receptive, yes.
Okay, so then all three of us have that in common. And then Jay, from my understanding, if you had to have cancer, that's almost a positive thing, because we know what to do to treat estrogen-driven cancer. But correct me if I'm wrong. Tell us about the different types of breast cancer.
You can have estrogen-driven, progesterone-driven, or both. Okay. Estrogen-driven is the majority of women. So that's the one that you want. I'd hate to say it like that, but we tend to know exactly what to do. We know the drugs. We've used tamoxifen for up to years. We know how to check your LFTs, things of that sort. When it comes to the progesterone-driven one, there's research on it, but it's less research. So obviously, if you have a smaller sample size, you have to base things based on the simple sample size that you do have, and you may be that outlier. Estrogen-driven, we have so much research on the outliers and what to expect, and like you said, the scales that you use, and also just what drugs work for different whatever stage that you're in. The both type, don't get that one.
Okay. Is that the triple negative one? Is that what that's called?
No, that's actually a subtype. The triple negative is a subtype of the estrogen, which you really wouldn't know unless you just ask for that test with your doc. Oftentimes, they don't even tell you, because it's honestly irrelevant unless you just kind of want to know. Okay. The both type means that both receptors are having some issues.
So. I want to make sure y'all are still with me. We still good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. We're here.
I just heard a little bit of feedback. I didn't know if that was just on my end. Thank you, Jay. Because I asked that question because I know sometimes too, treatment can look different. So my mom's breast cancer, for example, was HER2 positive, and she started chemo right away. Mm-hmm. She didn't get her lumpectomy until after chemo, but before radiation.
Mm-hmm.
I, on the other hand, had my lumpectomy immediately because, as Denise said, estrogen-driven cancer can grow very fast. And so I think that, our treatment, maybe our journeys look a little bit different depending on the type of cancer. So that's also, I think, a helpful fact to know. Jay?
The type of cancer, and obviously just who your oncologist is.
Mm-hmm.
Some oncologists are very aggressive. Some are, some are. I don't think you can be too aggressive, but some think they're too aggressive, and some are kind of slow.
Mm-hmm.
You know your body. Again, you know when something is wrong, and and if you feel that things are going too slow, change doctors. There's a million of them.
I heard that. Yeah, we have about 15 minutes left. So if folks have questions for our panelists, for our guests, please do drop them into the chat or into the comment box, and we'll make sure that they come up on the screen and we can ask folks. But I told all the panelists that I wanted to make sure that we ended this on a positive note. And I think it's been a positive conversation. But just to ensure that we are leaving here understanding that, we have the ability to make decisions about our bodies and that we can claim positive health. What is something, Denise, that you want to leave on the table as far as a positive affirmation is concerned? And tell us more about your brand as well, sis.
Of course. Well, I'll start with the brand. Like I said briefly, I developed slate cancer after my breast cancer diagnosis, although I think it was in my brain years before my mom was going through her treatment. And it's just a way of bringing functionality and fashion together for women and men who have been diagnosed or know someone who's going through cancer treatment, and just want to be bold and powerful and just take a stand on this horrible disease. Just make it fun and fashionable and look fly doing it. On a positive note, I want to backing off what Jay said, that we know our bodies. Your body. If you have dense breasts. If you've had this lump in your breast for the past 15 years. So it's very important to understand and know your body. And I think that really early detection is what's super important. So making sure that you are aware of your body, and being your own advocate. Making sure no one can tell you you're too young, too old, too black, too white, too whatever for any test. So making sure that you are your own advocate, and making sure that you know your body and are aware of what's going on, and that you make sure that you're proactive.
Thank you so much. Millie, what's a positive thought that you would like to conclude with tonight?
Just to piggyback off what Denise said, early detection and treatment, and if they're not doing what you're supposed to do, I put in the House of Garcon meeting, and our Facebook, I said I need a new doctor, and Alyssa sent me to the doctor, and she's a Black breast cancer surgeon here, and I just like, I need to go somewhere else. I need a second opinion because no one's listening to me, and I know my body. I said I have insurance, I work, like I don't understand. I'm like, you just treat Black women so differently, and then when we get diagnosed or staged, sometimes it's too late because you just that's not it. But early detection, early treatment. If they're not listening to you, go somewhere else. There's plenty of doctors out here that will listen to you, be your own advocate. And I already did what Jay said. I document everything. So I made them put down everything. When she got my file, she was like, wait a minute. I said, yeah. She's like, and you've been? I said, yep. And they have done. Yeah. I said, they can't prod me anymore. So we need to figure out, let's just do this biopsy, get this diagnosis, because I know, let's just keep it moving. But and this, once you advocate for yourself and you get the diagnosis, work on your mental, then you can go with your treatment, and then you progress, because like I said, we all still standing here, and it's listen to your body and yourself. Don't let anyone tell you different. Like you said, you're not too young, you're not too old. Just go for what you should have done.
Yes.
Thank you for that. So I'm hearing advocacy as a self-advocacy as a thing here. Jay?
Absolutely.
I would say with just any diagnosis whatsoever, but we're talking about breast cancer today. Let yourself feel. I tell all of my patients, feel those emotions that you feel are real. The concerns that you have are real. So allow them control them, obviously, but let yourself feel. And I always say, to the best of your ability, try to have the glass half full approach. Stay optimistic. Surround yourself with the ones that you love, and always be persistent on your body, because we have one life to live. And if someone, again, I keep saying this, if someone does not believe in you, switch. Go to someone else. It is that simple. Find out. I mean, because like I said, most big cities treatment can be free, even if you have no insurance. Find someone else. But again, my biggest thing is let yourself feel and let those emotions come and love and just say, hey, I love me.
Thank you so much. And I will conclude just by saying and putting into the atmosphere one of my favorite affirmations of all times. This definitely got me from the hysterectomy through the breast cancer. And I should say that while I was treating cancer, my mother actually was treating cancer at the same time.
Uh,
And um the one affirmation that I always repeated was, you were assigned this mountain to show others that it can be moved. And that has always just truly sat with me, to understand that for me, I believe that I was brought to that moment for a purpose. We were all brought together in this StreamYard today, this Facebook live chat, for a purpose. And so because of that, even the cancer, I knew that that was a mountain that can be moved. And I hope that anyone who is listening, who is a cancer patient, survivor, or a caretaker, also embraces that fact, because you will get to the other side. I thank y'all so much for being in community with us tonight. Social media. Where can we find folks if they would like to have some extra followers on social media? I know, Denise, you probably want to share your IG handle.
yes, guys, please, everyone go to slayingcancer.com. You'll be able to find all my products. You have inspirational stories, and just read about my cancer journey. If you guys want any dope gear for anybody going through their last day of chemo, anyone who's going through cancer treatment, or anyone who knows someone's going through cancer treatment, go to slayingcancer.com, get some items, let the person feel good from the inside out.
Thank you. Millie J.
My IG is Millie Poodle 1922. So I just share me and my family. So you can follow me and see what all the quirky things I actually post.
Beautiful.
Love.
Beautiful.
And for me, it's triple underscore Eli, JY triple underscore ELI. Most of my posts are not health related, but you definitely can always DM me. I always check my DMs, and you would be surprised at how many people actually write me in regards to health related stuff as a Black gay male. If you have any questions whatsoever when it comes to health, I always respond, and I promise you I will give you a call. And that is my promise to you.
Thank you so much, Jane. I am Politics and Fashion on IG. Fashion is spelled FSHN. On behalf of the House of Garcon, I want to once again thank you all for being in community with us tonight. Y'all take good care. Check your breasts and schedule your mammogram. Have a good night.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Night.